Feels like it's been ages.
Hello everyone, Lord here. Welcome back to Shadowverse. Today we're taking a quick look at how the Omen of the 10 rotation meta has shaped up a month or so after the expansion's release, right before the first scheduled balance patch. We're going to examine who's on top, which archetypes actually held up for more than the first few days, and why everyone is in their respective spot. So unless you're a Forcecraft fan, and I apologize on behalf of Side Games if you are, you may want to pay attention, as this will likely be relevant to you. Let's dive in. Tier 1, Top Dogs. These are the decks you will consistently be seeing on the ladder and in tournaments. They are up here mainly due to the archetype's sheer power and efficiency, but can also be because it occupies a very specific place in the meta, one with few natural predators or a lot of potential prey. So who's in here? I'd say it's DFB, that is Dark Feast Bat Bloodcraft, Ramp Dragoncraft, also known as Disdain Dragon, Midrange Shadowcraft, which is interchangeable or mostly identical to Arcus Shadow, and Midrange Swordcraft, aka Loot Sword. Let's take a quick look under the hood. Dark Feast Bat Blood is very much a tempo deck. Utilizing Bloodcraft's signature Pain for Gain self-damage cards, it looks to generate significant swings and some chip damage before eventually finishing the opponent off with its namesake card. Key cards: Dark Feast Bat, Floros, Vera, Knight Fanatic, and basically every efficient self-damage card.
The world's beneath me!
Disdain Dragon is a very cookie-cutter ramp deck that simply utilizes the Disdain package to gain more efficiency via card draw, removal, and reach. Quickly getting ahead on play points and then relying on big beaters or fat stormers is what this archetype is all about. Key cards: Azidahaka, Poseidon, the entire Disdain set, and a good number of the most efficient ramp cards.
Oh, I could just gobble you up.
Midrange Shadow is exactly what you'd expect from a midrange deck. Loads of extremely efficient cards. Combining the ability to quickly fill up the board with efficient removal, reasonable card draw, and some especially punishing "you didn't wipe my board" effects, it's not too surprising that this archetype is a tournament favorite. Oh, and did I mention the added late game Stormwind condition? Key cards: Arcus, Ghostly Manager, Gilnelis, Omen of Craving, Gremory, Fairy, Spirit Maiden, and all of the most efficient early to mid-game followers.
Usurp, pillage, and plunder.
And Midrange Sword is another not exactly new or surprising build. This archetype has been around for nearly as long as Shadowverse itself, so I don't think a lot of explanation is necessary. Whether it's constantly one-upping the opponent with extremely efficient cards, or constantly filling the board with annoying followers, Sword's playstyle hasn't really changed. The newly added loot cards add a bit of flavor, but in the end they're just another source of efficiency. Key cards: Arthur, Knight King, Latham, Honorable Knight, Dragon Knights, a specific few early drops, and most of the Usurpation set. Tier 2, Contenders. These are decks that you will also encounter frequently. The main factor for this category is almost exclusively meta positioning. Contenders get to where they are mainly by countering a tier 1 deck or not being countered themselves. Make no mistake though, each of these archetypes is strong in its own right and could easily move up a category given some help. The decks I'd put here are Mysteria Runecraft, Giant Chimera Runecraft, and Lishena, the puppet version, Porocraft, with the latter being my personal pick for an unpopular build that may just be on the rise. Let's take a quick look under the hood.
For those who cast in my name!
Mysteria Runecraft is a typical tribal deck. It relies on the additional synergy between cards sharing the same trait, in this case Mysteria, and maximizing the benefit from it. The archetype is still a bit quirky, but between sheer efficiency, cost reduction, and additional card generation, it can still raise enough noise to earn its spot here. Key cards: Anne, Mysterian Prodigy, Miss Miranda, Owen, Knight of Mysteria, and most other cards sharing the Mysteria trait. Giant Chimera Runecraft is another somewhat old and familiar build. Being the current personification of the combo archetype, Giant Chimera Rune employs a plethora of removal and draw spells to fuel Runecraft's signature spell boost mechanic. With a bit of draw luck and enough spells played, the deck's namesake card is all that's required to score the win. Key cards: Giant Chimera, Truth's Adjudication, Fate's Hand, Fiery Embrace, and basically every good or cheap removal or draw spell.
Show me how much you worship me!
And Lishena Portalcraft is actually an entirely new archetype from this expansion. It centers around its namesake card and uses the additional cards generated by it, Destruction in White and subsequently Destruction in Black, as a standalone win condition. Combining innate protection for the win condition, tempo-positive gameplay due to the nature of puppets, and a flexible frame that allows for easily slotting in tech cards, I think Lishena is just waiting for her chance to jump on stage. Key cards: Lishena, Omen of Destruction, Destructive Refrain, Inspired Inventor, some of the more efficient puppet generation cards, and a few of the destruction supports. Tier ? Underdogs and potential challengers. These are decks that you'll see from time to time, though much more frequently on the ladder than in tournaments. Underdogs usually have plenty of power and efficiency, but are held back by the defined meta's playstyle. They can definitely counter specific builds, but they tend to be too under the curve in an open field. This can be due to a variety of factors, including a difference in speed, for example a deck's win condition being too slow or requiring too much setup in a fast meta, an ability to be easily countered, for example if your win condition is centered around a single card, or simply relying on tools that are inefficient in the current meta. For example, having a lot of follower-centric removal in a meta that wins with from-hand damage. A lot can be said about this varied bunch, and some of them can definitely shine given the right circumstances, but as it stands, here's some archetypes I think drew the slightly too short stick. Artifact Portalcraft, PDK, that is Prime Dragon Keeper Dragoncraft, Tenko Havencraft, and Seraph Havencraft. I won't go into detail on the entries in this category, but for the sake of completion, I will include an example list for each. Artifact Portal has the same old create artifacts, generate tempo, hope you draw Deus Ex shtick. PDK is actually very similar to the current Disdain build, but obviously incorporates Prime Dragon Keeper and a lot more early drop followers. Tenko is still all about Tenko's Shrine and grinding the opponent out with healing and efficiency. And Seraph Haven is actually a new build that is almost identical to an old build of the same name. Now relying on Lapis Glorious Seraph to spawn the game-winning and statute Seraph, rather than playing it naturally, it's still a somewhat slow combo/control deck that is easy to tech against. A case can be made for including a few other lists like Puppet Portal or even Tempo Forest in this category, but personally I'll just leave them as honorable mentions. Speaking of honorable mentions, I'd like to give a super honorable mention to all the Omen of One decks out there. I don't think any have risen to any special prominence just yet, but they're definitely something worth looking out for. Maybe Dragoncraft? So, in a nutshell, that's how things look for the first month of Omen of the Ten's rotation format. With Forest basically nowhere to be seen and my personally hyped Prophetess Rune still at meme tier, I wonder how the balance patch will shake things up. Which of the top builds do you think need the biggest hit? And which archetypes do you think will rise up to the throne as a consequence? Let me know in the comments. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, I've been Lord, and this has been Shadowverse. Thanks for watching.